afternoon. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Tammy Martin.
And I'm John Martin.
And we are the founders of Young Black Leadership Alliance. Welcome to YBLA's Community Conversation Giving Tuesday.
Giving Tuesday. Awesome.
Yes.
Awesome.
Today is our sixth segment, and we will be highlighting Black nonprofit organizations that are doing the Charlotte community. Absolutely. You will hear about how these organizations are working towards the racial disparities that plague the Black community. At the beginning of this initiative, we identified 7 racial disparities that disproportionately affect the Black community. They are employment, financial, health, criminal justice, education, housing, and family. Awesome. Today's panel of nonprofit leaders will touch on some of these disparities, and later you will have the opportunity to donate to their organizations.
Yeah, keyword being donate. That's so awesome. So we're glad to have Giving Tuesday. So as Tammy was saying, you will learn about 4 other nonprofit organizations, including our organization, YBLA. If you happen to be a first-time viewer to these community conversations, welcome. And the opportunity here is, what we're doing is we're giving a voice to the Black experience. We're identifying racial disparities. We're providing solutions on the ways you can help. And we're moving toward actions that'll lead to system-level changes.
Yes.
We're using an acronym STAND to describe this initiative. STAND is for seize the moment, talk to others, act on your biases, no more silence, and donate your resources.
Yes.
We invite you to stand with us to make a better tomorrow in the Charlotte community. We have a target goal of having 2020 actions towards bridging the gap of racial disparities.
Yeah, that's right. Over the past 5 weeks, we have made a call to action after each segment so we can start moving the dial towards change. On your screen, you will see all the calls of actions that we've had. The first week, it was invite your network. The second week was sign a petition. The third week, share the YBLA post on facts about Black women in corporate America. The fourth week was share ideas about the post for Black men in corporate America. And the last week, we supported Black-owned businesses. A survey went out to see who supported a Black business this week. So our young leader, Allie, is going to come up and give us an update on the progress that we're making towards our 2020 actions.
There you go.
Yes, so here's the update. We have 411 actions, which puts us at 20% of our 2020 goal. Right? Exactly. And I'm just going to give a little shout out to some of the Black-owned businesses that were supported from last week.
Yeah.
We have Cuzzo's Cuisine,
the
Mobile Barber, Two Strong Dudes Moving, Dare to Dazzle, and our very own Lloyd Visuals, who were actually here last week.
That's right.
Yeah, congrats to you all.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Allie.
Yes, of course.
Thank you. And thank everyone for supporting the Black businesses. It's super important. So today's call to action is to donate to the nonprofit organizations highlighted today. Very, very, very worthy organizations.
Yeah.
Any amount you give will be greatly appreciated, and also another action towards our 2020 goals. So we ask for your time, your attention, your support today as we hear about these wonderful organizations. YBLA Community Conversations would not exist without our partners at DHG.
That's right.
Dixon Hughes and Goodman started the charge on this initiative because they wanted to build an alliance with us to end racial injustice and inequality in the Black community. We would like to bring on one of their associates to say a few words. One of my favorite people.
Yes.
Miss Sally Johnson, would you please join us?
Thank you so much, John and Tammy, for letting me join you today to say a few words. It has been so wonderful working with you both. I love everything about YBLA. So I'm super grateful to learn from you and the YBLA students and from all the panelists who have joined these community conversations. I find myself getting chills and teary-eyed during each of these conversations. They are so raw and real and honest and eye-opening. I truly learn something new with each conversation, but what I've also realized is that we have panelists of all ages who are telling very similar stories around racial injustice, and it's heartbreaking. These conversations have led me to have honest, open dialogue with family and friends, but my favorite part is the call to action after each conversation. I love that we're talking and listening and learning, but it's clear that it is beyond time to take action. So thank you again for your leadership, and thank you for letting me be a part of it.
Oh, thank you, Sally. So we definitely appreciate your support as well as all of DHG's support. We could not do it without you guys. So if you missed any of the conversations, you can view them all on our website at www.youngblackleadership.org/community-conversations.
All righty, let's get this party started.
All right.
So today, the format will be a little different. Each nonprofit leader would tell you about their organization and the racial disparity that they are working towards. During the conversation, we will put up their information and provide ways that you can donate to their cause. We are very, very hopeful that every organization represented here today will walk away with donations that will help them continue the fight to make Charlotte community a better place. No amount is too small, because as we mentioned before, it's the small things that can really make a big difference. So now we're going to move to our panelists. And I want to start off with Colin. I start off with you. Kick us off by telling us more about the Harvest Center and all the good work you're doing there.
Well, good afternoon, Tammy, John, and thank you for having me and for letting me go first. I never get to go first. Thank you.
Awesome.
Also, for those of you who don't know, the Harvest Center of Charlotte is Charlotte's premier faith-based organization working against the fight against non-chronic homelessness in the lives of adult men and women and now families with children. Our mission is to create a community where individuals who are impacted by homelessness, poverty, and unemployment are empowered through our transitional programs and what we believe ultimately transformed by the love and ministry of Jesus Christ. We've got a bold vision to see 2,000 lives fully transformed. And for us, that means that these individuals are working meaningful, life-sustaining jobs, that they are preparing to move to permanent housing, and that ultimately they're connected to communities of faith all over our cities. You know, Charlotte is a city of churches, and we believe they're a great resource and asset for people who are working themselves out of homelessness. We accomplish our mission through a model we call the Charlotte Passport Program. It is a fully supportive transitional housing model where we provide formerly homeless men, women, and families with children 18 months of quality, safe housing. And during that time, they are provided wraparound support and services to help them grow their life skills to include everything from mental health to physical health, their financial well-being, academic enrichment for kids, and so forth and so on. And what we have found for these many years that I've been here at the Harvest Center for 7 years now, and even my 20 plus years in nonprofit work in this city, is that it's obvious there's an overrepresentation of people of color who are in these cycles of need and dysfunction. And so it's really sort of a personal effort I have to help restore minority families through healthy lifestyles and through our program. And so one of our newest partners, I'll just say this and I'll be quiet, with the virtual reality for academics this year, CMS estimates there are between 4,000 and 5,000 homeless children in our city. And so we have now started an effort to provide satellite education for the children here on our campus so that we can help these children who are traditionally underserved live up to their full potential through our program. So our model, again, is for what we call the situationally homeless, not the guys with the signs on the streets. These are the 90% of the population of homeless you never see. They sleep in their cars, they sleep in hotels on the weekends, or they're bunking on somebody's couch, and they're just trying to make it. And they're characterized by their own motivation to change. And those are the individuals that we serve the best and the most. And that's it. I'm done. I don't know if you can hear me.
I have a question for you, Colin.
Wow. Okay.
How should we understand the homelessness in our city And what is the challenge your organization faces in helping individuals and families break out of the cycle of homelessness?
That's a great question, Tammy, and one I have thought about and pondered for 7 years here at the Harvest Center of Charlotte specifically. But again, as I said earlier, for my 25 years in nonprofit work here in the city, and that is that what we see in terms of homelessness is really not the problem. And this is my opinion, informed by my own experience. What we see are individuals on the street corners with signs. We see the proliferation of tent cities in locations throughout our city. And the optics would tell us that that's the issue we need to solve. I will tell you that's only 10% of the entire population of homeless people in our city. 90% of the homeless people in our town are men, women, and families with children who you will never see on a street corner. And they're sleeping in places that are not fit for human habitation. They are bunking up and doubling up and tripling up in somebody's apartment. They're sleeping in their cars, as I said, and they are the ones who are characterized by this motivation, this self-will to move themselves up and out of this vicious cycle of homelessness. So we categorize them as non-chronically homeless. Again, the optics would tell us that the chronic homeless is really our issue. And I will tell you from our work and effort that that's really not the issue that we need to solve in our city. We can do so much more and we can lift our city so much better if we would go after this 90% of individuals who are trapped in this cycle. And as we help them move their lives up and out, they actually become value-producing citizens. They work jobs, they're involved in the commerce of the day. They influence our economy, they pay taxes. So we really should get them now in this year of election. We should really work to help this population get on their feet because they want to. And so, but again, you don't see them. They're not documented. They're not accounted for in all of our counts. Typically, we only count chronically homeless people. And again, they're the smallest percentage. So the ones we work with at the Harvest Center, the ones I believe our city should really rally around are these who have their own motivation and with the right support and services and support, again, they can move their lives up and out. And so our model that we do to serve them is through partnership. And one of the challenges we face is that this sustainability issue as an organization, it's a little bit higher price point to help a homeless family or a homeless individual who wants to get their life back on track. It's easier just to hand them a sandwich. And I'm not knocking that. They've got to eat. But there's that old adage, you give a man a fish, he'll eat for a day. Yeah. If you teach him how to fish, he'll not only eat for a lifetime, but he will also then become a person who can feed others. Right. And so that is our work and our challenge. And the big challenge that we're facing now in our city, we've heard all the talk about affordable housing. And it's not just about affordable housing, it's about safe, decent, affordable housing. Right. Typically, the people who are working themselves up and out are subject to housing models that are not safe and decent, right? And when they can't afford it, there are all kind of issues. Well, we're believing for and we're calling for our city to provide and build safe, affordable, decent housing. And that's our challenge because there's not enough inventory right now. We're way behind. As we move people through our program this year already, we've had 28 people move from our program into permanent housing. And we're very limited in where they can go unless they're able to get a mortgage and buy a house, which some of them do. But typically the housing models are not, they don't meet the standard. I think we've got to do better as a city. And we're working to solve that problem ourselves here at the Harvest Center.
Right. Thank you, Calvin. That is so awesome. So our chat leader, Allie, will put in the chat, if you haven't already, Allie, if you would put in there just ways that you can contribute to the Harvest Center. We're definitely super supportive, and Colin, you've done, I would definitely support you and love you there. We're going to move over to Jania. Jania Massey, you're up next. So could you tell us a little bit more about Stiletto Boss University and give us a little bit more details on your organization, and then we'll follow up with a question from there.
Sorry, I forgot to unmute. My bad. Thank y'all for having me.
No problem.
Thanks for having me. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, so my name is Jania Massey. I am the founder and executive director of Stiletto Bosch University, and we are a youth entrepreneurship programming targeting young ladies, teaching them about the foundation of entrepreneurship, but also teaching them about collaboration, the power of sisterhood, and how that equals community impact. So we started off with a pilot program in like 2015, and then I ended up leaving my comfy corporate job in 2016 to hit the ground running. And since then, we have scaled to having 10 chapters in the Charlotte, Mecklenburg, and actually up in the Morrisville region. And it has been a complete ride. It has been a true village of people supporting me, donating, and being a part of the SBU family. We teach in the school system, and we also have community-based chapters. We recently partnered with the Harvest Center, so it's always awesome to be on the call with Colin. So we're teaching the residents there, their kids, about entrepreneurship. So that has been an awesome opportunity to have them become more self-sufficient versus self-reliant, which is something that Colin kind of spoke on at the end of his speech. So just happy to be on the call, and that's a little bit of what we do.
Awesome. So Jania, can you tell us a little bit about how your work helps alleviate financial disparity in the Black community?
Absolutely. So we're really all about economic empowerment, right? Like, we have to have economic empowerment in order for us to be in the playing game here in the world. It's not saying that everybody has to be an entrepreneur, but you still need to understand your skill sets. You still need to understand finances. You still need to understand how to take care of yourself, which goes back to being self-sufficient. So I have two stories about two of our participants. Both are actually from our West Charlotte chapter. And one young lady, I think she's going to be a sophomore this year in college, which I can't believe, but she still noticed how teen pregnancy is still very, very high. And a lot of times we don't talk about teen pregnancy anymore, because sometimes in the world of philanthropy, certain things trend in the nonprofit space. So at one point, teen pregnancy was talked about all the time, and then now it's not talked about at all, it seems like. But she still saw that there was a need for teen pregnancy. So her business idea was to create a nannying service to target teen moms and to help them, where she can come in and help them with their homework. If they needed homework, time just to do their homework, she'll come and watch their children. She would help them if they need to go to work. And it was really from a solution standpoint, but it also helped her just financially. She wanted to get a car, so she was able to use that money from her side hustle to put money towards a car. She was able to sustain that car and putting gas in the car, because we all know we need gas to go. And she just made it a really good business model for her, but still serving the community. And then I have another participant from that same chapter. I noticed that she had a natural knack for drawing, knowing how to draw. And we exposed her to the industry of graphic design. And someone that's on our team, Charlie Coughlin, she's an artist herself. She has her bachelor's in art from Winston-Salem State. She taught her how to do Adobe. And Aviana is now making logos for other businesses. She made logos for people within her chapter for their businesses. And she makes flyers, and she helps put things that could go on t-shirts and stuff. And now she's off to Central. She's a freshman. She left me last week, and I bought her a computer, which is an investment from the communities, for her to continue to do her art and be able to use that and gift it to the world. So that's really how we're able to help, giving them the empowerment and understanding that something they can do on the side can be lucrative enough for them to keep going and them to use their talents and skill sets for the community.
Yeah. Awesome, Julia. Thank you for that. Because I'm with you. I have a heart for young Black women. So
yes, that is my ministry. I am not leaving men behind, but women is my ministry. I don't want everybody asks me, why don't you teach boys? And I'm like, I secretly taught boys, but women are my ministry.
Also in the chat. Thank you, Jania. Also in the chat, you will find Stiletto Bosch University. You'll see the link. You can donate to Stiletto Bosch while we'll continue on the conversation. Thanks. And now we're going to move on to Mr. Jason. the profound gentleman. Jason, please explain all the wonderful work you're doing for Black men now.
Yes.
To go from girls to
Yeah.
men now.
Yeah. So Janine, I'll hold it down for the men. So my name is Jason Terrell. I'm the co-founder and executive director of Profound Gentlemen. I started my career as a CMS teacher. I was a 8th grade, 7th grade English teacher at James Martin Middle School in the Governor's Village before starting my venture, which is Profound Gentlemen, back in 2015. And essentially, we sit at the intersection of teacher diversity and education and diversity. So we focus specifically on teacher diversity. And the theory is, when you think about your major companies in the top quartile of racial and ethnic diversity often overperform their industry standards for about 35-40%. That same theory doesn't necessarily apply to education. So across the country, specifically in North Carolina, only about 16% of your teachers are Black or brown teachers. And within that 16%, around 2% of them look like me. So they're Black men. And so Profound Gentlemen's mission is to build communities of men of color who are teaching. We give them professional development support. We recruit teachers from college to be in the school system. And we work throughout the country to do this. So we have about 450 teachers that we work with right now. And we have partnerships with about 4 school districts and a few single site school partners. So we work with from everywhere from college students all the way to 15-year veterans in the classroom to make sure they have the capacity building support they need to be more impactful.
Yeah, thank you, Jason. I have a quick question for you. With the education disparity, why is it so important for our Black children to have Black male teachers?
Yeah, I can speak from a very personal standpoint of being a teacher in the school. I was also the head baseball coach in my school. And I remember, not only my baseball team, but boys from the 6th grade hall will come to me just to get advice and just get loved on. But there's a lot of national data that shows the importance of having teacher diversity. So while I was in the classroom, I had the pleasure of doing a distance learning program, and I got my master's degree at Johns Hopkins University in education. And at the time when I was at Johns Hopkins, they were actually doing a study specifically on North Carolina data. It was a longitudinal study to look at a group of students. And they showed that this group of students, it was about maybe 3,000 or so students. They pulled out Black students specifically, and they found that if a Black child has one Black teacher between the ages of 3 to 5, 3rd grade to 5th grade, there's a 13% likelihood that student will graduate from high school. If they have 2 Black teachers, there's a 32% likelihood that child will graduate from high school and enter in a post-secondary education or just other career opportunities. If they have 3 Black teachers, then it doubles. So there's overwhelming data that show just having diverse representation of images of success essentially in the classroom does a lot for not just the student psyche, for their self-esteem, for their academic progress, etc. So I'm sure we can all think back to that favorite teacher. And we would love for our boys to say that favorite teacher looked like them. They were an educator who helped them understand their identity, understand their academic progress, and wanted them to be a better person overall. So we work not just for the academic success, but also that social and emotional learning component that our boys need. We make sure that our teachers are equipped to handle that.
Oh, that's so awesome.
Right, because when you think back, I'm trying to think, the first time I had a Black male teacher was high school, maybe? For me.
Mine was college,
College.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And I think when most people think about it, because we don't think about it, how many Black male teachers have you had? Some people are lucky; they may go to a school that has a few of them, but a lot of people don't actually have Black male teachers. And I think that's your work that you're doing is definitely helping to help young people, not only Black children but all children, right?
Absolutely.
And as you mentioned, so I think that's very, very critical. Great work. Again, Allie, if you would put in the chat, Profound Gentlemen and ways to support them. Again, what we have brought together is just some awesome organizations that are doing great work in the community. And I'll transition over to friends, one of our partners. So as we do our mission trips, we always partner with Samaritan's Feet. So Manny has been a role model of mine. So someone between him and Colin, those are the 2 people I look to and follow on. So I'll let Manny come up and introduce himself and say a little bit more words, a few words about his organization. So Manny, if you would take it from here, sir.
Well, thank you, John, and thank you, Tammy, and all the panelists. I've actually been sitting here just nodding my head as I've heard Colin and Jania and Jason talk about just the implication of just looking at the holistic version of how do we transform people's life. And Samaritan's Feet, our mission is very simple. We want to help create a hope-filled world for impoverished and underserved children all over the world. And you can tell from my accent, I'm actually not originally from Charlotte. I'm from West Africa. So I was born in Nigeria. I was one of those kids that you probably used to watch on Discovery Channel whose life was impacted because a group of missionaries that chose to do something just like what you guys are doing. That came to the shores of my country to come impact our life and through the game of basketball. And then through that process, I got my first pair of shoes and then served as an impetus for me to come to this country in a basketball scholarship. But the beauty of generosity and just compassion and love and philanthropy, really, I'm the product of that. And I realize everyone that's been able to receive that, we have a responsibility to pay that love forward. And that's the beauty of everybody that's been speaking right here on this panel today, because what's the essence of that which we've received? We can actually give that as a gift to the world to help make this world better. And that's what we are at Samaritan's Feet. We exist to truly help inspire hope. And hope to us actually is not just a four-letter word. It's actually an acronym that means H is for health, O is for opportunity, P is actually for peace building and creating unity. And then lastly, E stands for education. We serve a number of those vulnerable population across Title I schools, the homeless population, where the top 2-3 needs for them is shoes. People don't realize is that over actually 1.5 billion people in the world are infected with diseases because they have no shoes. In the United States, over 13.23 million children, many of those kids that look just like you and me, that their parents got to make decisions. Can I buy shoes for them to go to school? Should I buy shoes for them to be able to compete in sport? Or do I buy other things to be able to actually help meet their needs? We will accomplish their dreams. So Samaritan's should actually provide a service platform that allow us to impact kids and bring people and working with partners like Harvest Center and a whole bunch of other nonprofits just like YBLA, that we can actually collectively serve locally, regionally, nationally, and internationally, and use that platform to be able to transform and change people's lives. Not just that we provide shoes to, but those that gets the chance to come serve those people, because those becomes the catalyst that can leave that place and go bring other people to come say, how can we help the homeless people that Colin was talking about? How can we help a number of those kids around the world that we get to go do every year through our mission trip to be able to impact their life? So that's what we're doing. So we just had this huge My City Care effort as part of our peace building effort that was right around our back to school here that would serve kids at Stratford YMCA. So we work with a number of community champions and partners that work with us either in business, whether through sports, either through education, whatever it is. But the key is, how do we mobilize servant leaders that can humble themselves to impact kids and show them that they can help change this world? And that's what we want to be able to look in the eyes of this future, African-American children, both boys and girls, and say, you have a dream, there's something that's been placed in you, and we want to be able to provide these shoes so you can go walk into your path and go become an entrepreneur and go become a life transformer and go become future Tammy and John. So that's what we are.
Amen to that.
Amen.
Quick question for you, man. We understand COVID. I know much of the work you have done is a lot of international travel, because that's how we have to partner with you. So given the health disparities in the Black community, what has Samaritan Feet done to improve the health of Black people in Charlotte?
Well, thanks for asking that question. One of the things, one of the top 3 to 5 needs for kids going back to school is actually shoes. People don't realize that. The top 2 to 3 needs of homeless population is actually footwear. So we actually, as part of COVID, because the nature of our organization, we actually literally have to humble ourselves and wash every single recipient's feet before we get the chance to dialogue and talk to them. Because of the social distancing requirement, we have to actually pivot and kind of change our model. So we've actually kind of created this unique distribution model with our Hope Totes now, where we can actually not just provide the shoes, the socks, but hygiene kits, and also be able to also put in there a message of hope that can be customized and tailored for you, that somebody can come to our site, because you can't go wash this person's feet right now, but you can go say, hey, Colin, And my name is Colin Pinkney, and I believe God's got a plan for your life, and you can accomplish and do great things. And send that message through us, and we print that and put that in our hooptus, and we can go deliver it on Colin's behalf. And that's the power. And then as we're saving people's life through not having diseases, they can compete in school. But more importantly, we help actually inspire something much bigger than just the health implication, which is give these kids hope and remind them that regardless of what it is that they're going through today, tomorrow is always going to be a better day. And then that's hope. That's one thing that we can never eradicate. That's one thing we can never stop. As long as they have hope, they can face a better tomorrow. And that's the kind of help that Samaritan's trying to provide to kids, not just in the Charlotte community, but in over 400 U.S. cities across the country and over 120 countries now around the world.
Wow, that's amazing.
That is so awesome.
That is amazing. I love your passion, Manny.
Oh my God. Yeah. I don't know what to say after
I know.
that.
You're kind of like, okay, what do we do?
There we go from there. So Ali, if you would drop, if you haven't already, if you could drop in the
Yes.
chat, just ways to support Samaritan's Feet. Again, just a wonderful organization. And really, as mentioned, these are organizations that we love, we support, we brought them on just so that they can share their message, the work that they're doing and the great work that they're doing in our community.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so in terms of next steps, so let's talk a little bit about YBLA. And I think most people on the call know about Young Black Leadership Alliance, but we're a nonprofit leadership development organization. We focus on leadership development, college preparation, and service work. Some of the service work that we've done, again, includes going to international trips with Manny, Samaritan's Feet, and supporting them there. And really, organizations about and young people such as Ali and Abuna, who's here, helping us really to support and develop work here. So that's what our organization's about, and we really this type of work allows us to really not only showcase the work that we do, but also showcase our partners as well.
Absolutely. Yeah, and we just thank you, everyone out there, for helping to donate, to giving to all of these organizations. As you see, Samaritan's Feet, Stiletto Boss University, Profound Gentlemen, and Harvest Center. We appreciate it. All of the links is going to go in the chat.
Yep.
And so you have the opportunity to go ahead and donate and give. We really appreciate, as if we were saying before, any amount will work. There's no small amount that there is, because we know as nonprofit leaders that every dollar.
So Ali, do you have any questions in the chat? Yeah, so if you guys would like to join the conversation, please feel free to add some questions to the chat. We'll definitely take a couple. We have a few minutes here to be able to do that. So we'll definitely open that up. So while we're here, let's ask a few questions.
Yeah, because we started with Manny asking about the impact of COVID-19 and how he had to shift, because a lot of his work was international travel. I would like to move to Jason in Profound Gentlemen. Jason, how did COVID-19 impact your organization?
Yeah, I mean, it's still, as you know, CMS and a lot of districts are moving to a virtual learning platform. There's some districts that we have teachers in who are hybrid. There's some folks who are in person. So that's just completely shifted how we think about supporting teachers. The strength of our model has always been community. So we do a lot of bringing teachers together for professional development. There's a lot of just strength in that unity, but we've had to completely shift our program to be 100% virtual model. So all of our teacher coaching is going to be virtual. All of our retreat and conference experiences are going to be virtual. And a lot of that is going to be, a lot of the content that we'll be teaching this year is going to be geared towards how to deliver high quality virtual instruction. As a teacher, when I was in CMS, we were a one-to-one school, meaning that every student had access to a Chromebook. But the level of, I never received any professional development about how to use that tool and embed that through my pedagogy. And so most teachers don't, that's just the reality. And so, we as an organization, we support about 60 teachers in CMS. We have a responsibility to go and figure out how to, do cool games. I mean, there's so many different games like Kahoot. There's a lot of different tools out there that teachers can use and embed into their practice. And so we're just trying to, be very flexible and it's interesting that this year, so we have a set of core values in our organization.
Can hear
I'm sorry. I didn't. I was saying we have a set of core values, but one of the core values that we're leaning into this year is growth mindset. And that's going to be like in my email chains, I'm putting that growth mindset idea. I'm just trying to be very hopeful and optimistic, but really approach this time with a growth mindset perspective.
Yeah, same here with us, because we had to totally shift our programming from in-person to virtual, and trying to be creative behind the screen with teenagers can be somewhat challenging.
Yeah, I know it is. Yeah.
So you got to give us some of those secrets that you're using to make it more engaging in the virtual world. But over to you, Colin, the same. How has COVID-19 impacted the Harvest Center?
Wow, the COVID-19 really kind of typifies the undercurrent that causes people to fall in and out of these cycles of homelessness. It's situations they typically can't control, right? And the situations, whether it's a divorce, whether it's a job loss, whether it's the loss of a family provider, any threat to their income really kind of, causes this reality to happen. And when COVID happened, we saw firsthand, because the people we serve worked the kind of jobs that were the first jobs that got frozen, hours got cut, reduction in staff, and we recognized that immediately. And so I will say that we're fortunate that we've been building sort of our resources so that if a day like this came, we could pivot, right? And we were fortunate that we were able to then provide, first thing we did was provide counseling, and everybody who lives on our campus receives free trauma-informed counseling. And it's not just for while they're with us, they get that for the duration, even when they leave our program. And that, as a result of COVID, really forced us to get that resource in the hands will really surround our individuals and families. And secondly, what we recognized when these school children went to this virtual reality, as progressive as that sounds, they're living in homes, low resource homes, where they don't, in their home, their parents or their mom or their grandma does not have the acumen or the wherewithal to manage that process, right? Or even the time. They've got to go to work, because in our program, they're working, they're saving, they're growing their financial base, and suddenly they have to be home again to do something that they're not equipped to do, which is one of the reasons why we have partnered with CMS to make sure that all of our children are still in a learning environment outside of their home. Because the truth is, for many of the kids we serve, school really is a salvation. It is the answer to the problem. If they had to stay home all day, then that's CMPD police tells us they can predict crime by the school year calendar, the growth in crime, because they know if kids are not in school and they're in the community and they're subject to all the whims and the temptations, crime goes up. And we see that every summer. That's why it's no secret or mystery that every summer crime spikes in our city. So we've got to have programs like that. So we're partnering with CMS this year. We're going to have that on our site. We'll have school tutors, teachers through Oasis Foundation, another partner, who will be on our campus providing oversight while the children are in a virtual learning environment, while their parents can continue to go to work and build their financial platform. Again, it's something as a nonprofit we have to think about always, not just, we don't have the luxury of only thinking about today. We have to think about things like this, the crisis, because we know that's what the cause of this homeless issue is. There's these constant unknowns that happen. And so as an organization, we're fortunate we were able to pivot and help. So, and we're getting ready for the next crisis. Whatever it is, we're going to be ready for that.
Awesome.
That's true.
And I think that's really critically important in the nonprofit space of, we deal with crisis to crisis, right? I mean, that's the reason why we exist, is really to help people move and move forward. And as things get worse, the people that we serve end up in worse situations. And I think that's really, really critically important for people to understand. I mean, it's a mode of crisis that we're dealing with. So talking about pivot, so Jania, I would imagine that you guys had to pivot as well. Can you talk a little bit about how you pivoted? And
Yeah,
then,
absolutely.
the impact that it's had?
Absolutely. Can you hear me? Can y'all hear me? Okay. Yeah, absolutely. I think for me, I always knew the value of just technology, simply because in the beginning of my story, I was doing everything by myself. So I had to rely on technology to just help me with trainings, to help me with scheduling, to not be all over the place. So with that being said, last year I had this vision that God had given me in creating the youth version of a LinkedIn Meet Facebook. So we had started building that platform out last year. And because of COVID, thanks to COVID, we launched it right on time. So we launched it and we were able to shift and use this platform and actually get a lot of good beta testing in. And then we were able to receive some additional funding to do our first summer camp, which was virtual. And I'm very ambitious. I don't know why God gave me that, but I'm gonna receive it. But I did a 6-week summer camp. They met 4 days a week for 6 weeks, and we talked about different entrepreneurial topics. So because of that experience, we're now going to continue to stay virtual in compliance with CMS, but also we're about to launch a membership subscription program where students can learn at their own pace. So they'll be able to log into our platform. They will be able to watch videos, take quizzes and surveys, and learn about entrepreneurial topics with a virtual ambassador, and they'll get a certificate for completion. So we have been working on that since the top of this summer. So it's kind of like, I, of course, had no idea that COVID was happening, but I was already in this discipline and focus around the technology piece of things. And how does that work for nonprofits to make us more efficient and to scale better?
I totally get that. And of course, all of us in the nonprofit space, we know funding is major.
Yeah.
And at the beginning of COVID-19, I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I think I have a feeling that you probably was kind of a little panicked because you didn't know how it was going to affect your nonprofit and the funding. And one thing with us is that we was like, oh my gosh, could we completely lose the organization, because now everything and a lot of the funding that we're talking about being reallocated to COVID-19. So it was definitely a fear of ours. So I know a statistic that John found about funding in general with Black nonprofits.
Yeah, so it's a really good one. So
Yeah.
Black-led nonprofits have 24% less revenues than their white counterparts, and they receive 74% unrestricted net assets than their white counterparts as well. So they actually, so more of their revenue is restricted. So 74% more of their revenue is actually restricted. So Manny, can you talk a little bit about kind of, as a Black-led nonprofit, any impact in terms of funding and how that positions you?
Well, I mean, I think in terms of like, you know, since we have a number of different funding sources from events-based fundraisers to earned income through our services to, recurring monthly supporters that help be a part of that. We saw some of the recurring monthly support stuff go down, probably close to about 30%, because of some people lost their jobs. Some folks took reduction in pay and different types of things. But overall, our corporate, most of our resources, actually over 65% of our contribution comes from corporate donations and partnerships. We saw that increase by the grace of God. And so we've been able to continue to expand. I mean, we set out this year to serve 1 million people when COVID hit. We thought that was going to be the end of that. There was just no way we'd be able to serve. As of last week, we've served, I think, about 523,000 this year because we've invested in training a lot of our partners, both in country and out of country. That's not helping us do the work that we can do, and then we can focus our effort in helping to spread the word. So I think it's just how you pivot. It's we went from a peer-to-peer type of distribution model to more a drive-through type of model that allows us to be able to adhere to the state and federal health guidelines while creating still volunteer opportunity. A big part of what we do is what happens in our warehouses, where we can have a ton of people come in there, but we still can able to actually create ways that people can still get involved and still give. And which is one of the things all of us nonprofits got to be able to do better. how do we create opportunities for folks, even if they can't walk into our facility, to be able to also still be a part of our mission and contribute in very unique and diverse ways.
Right.
Anyone else have anything to add in terms of funding and differences and things that you've seen? Go ahead, Jason.
I was thinking, I think one thing I've learned is that nonprofits, we're businesses too. We just have a different tax status. So we've been thinking really strategically about our earned revenue sources. And so part of that is switching how we think about district and school relationships. Even thinking about, external partners who could offer services to our teachers at a fee for service model. So this summer we did like some kind of a financial modeling and like kind of got a stronger or tighter business plan, just so we know how to communicate our value add to districts. So we're having conversations with CMS. We secured 2 district partnerships in North Carolina. We'll be working with Durham Public Schools and Rowan Salisbury School District this upcoming year, but have a few other districts that we're pitching. So I think for us, it's really challenged us to get a lot more lean, a lot more strategic about how we grow and scale.
Yeah, that's good. And I wanted to add that I think a lot of time, even with the stat that you read earlier, John, I think we have to give ourselves more grace about how resilient we are as Black-led organizations. And it really helped me be a better leader. Like when COVID happened, I had to just stop. I needed to take the 2 weeks off and just kind of not chill out, but I needed to be still for a moment because the world is pretty much falling apart. And you can't expect certain people to jump into action in such a way without thinking first. So it really helped me strengthen my leadership muscle, as well as just being a better business person, because like Jason said, nonprofits are a business. It takes money to keep it going and it takes money to sustain it. So I think the resiliency led to better leadership amongst a lot of Black-led organizations, because we're still keeping our head above the water and we're still swimming to a better destination.
John, I think one thing to keep in mind, I think many of us nonprofit, we focus so much on our programs, and I think COVID allowed us to really reevaluate the strategic effort of what we do and say, how do we create a development platform that can sustain and withstand any type of pandemic? And I think that's something that it doesn't matter if you're a nonprofit or for-profit, I just focus on the outward sales and create an opportunity for people to become salespeople for you to help drive your value, what you're going forward. That's really what brings true success. So the only sales guys pitching your mission and what you do, but a whole bunch of people that are affiliated with you, you equip them with the resources and tools to become a development resource for your organization.
I just want to echo a little piece of what Janai just said there about personal development. In this space of nonprofit leadership, I think one of the tyrannies is sometimes we think all we need is our passion and our calling, and that gets the job done. We have to continually, as Jason said, have a growth mindset. We have to grow up as organizational leaders. I will tell you that the leader I was back in the day at the urban restoration back in the early 2000s is not the guy you see sitting before you today. And we went through a crisis back then, 2007 and 8. Some of you guys may remember. It decimated nonprofit organizations, particularly minority-led in this city. I remember those days. But when I look back then and now, and I realize that really in any of these situations, everything rises and falls on leadership, right? And if you're going to be the kind of a leader that can manage and navigate through these crises, you're going to have to be informed and growing and learning, and not only inside your organization, but even more globally, what's going on in the world of nonprofits. And that's something that I would admit to that I've really spent a lot of my time doing, being a better informed nonprofit leader, not just in my segment, but in tangential segments around the city and around the region. So I would just submit that we as leaders have to continually grow and be in places where we are motivated ourselves to change, because that is the thing that will eat our lunch if we don't see that sometimes we have to change. And that's a leadership quality, I think, that serves us well, especially in times of crisis.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, good. Well, I mean, that is a wonderful way to end this conversation. So thank you, Colin. Thank you guys for just really giving us the opportunity to share the stage, share the platform with you all. We definitely appreciate it. Again, I want to thank all of you for joining. Everyone that's listening, I want to thank you all for joining the 6th segment of phase 1. We hope you enjoyed hearing from our nonprofit leaders. We want to thank our partner, DHG, and their team for all their support and assistance on the project. And next week, we'll move into phase 2.
Yeah.
Phase
all
2.
right.
All right. Here we go. Phase 2. During this phase, we'll dive deeper into the racial disparities by having experts on the panel for information, to talk to us about information and solutions. So next week, we'll talk about the employment disparity. We'll feature CEOs and executive professionals as they share what they're doing in their companies and in the community. So please, several changes are being made.
Absolutely. So please continue to talk to your circle about joining us as we tackle the racial inequality and injustice in Charlotte. If you didn't get a chance, please consider donating and supporting all of the organizations that you heard today. We will have them, they probably already are, in the chat. So please, we're asking that you will donate and give back to these organizations, because as you have heard, it's tough work, but there are people out there that's really counting on us to make a difference in the Charlotte community. So on behalf of our panel and John and I, we send you a really big thank you for all the donations that you have made now, to all the ones that you would even make tomorrow.
Yes.
We really appreciate the love and support. We ask that you continue to pray for all of the nonprofit leaders you see, because Jason and Colin and Manny and Janelle were saying it is hard work, and we always got to stay ahead and start thinking about the next crisis. So I think that's it. And see you next Tuesday.
Next Tuesday.
And we hope you have a wonderful day.
Awesome.
And don't forget to give.
Thanks again.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. This was awesome.